President Donald Trump made a stunning revelation in a nationally broadcast studio session, exposing what he claimed was overwhelming evidence of Adam Schiff's involvement in massive fraud and acts of treason. The explosive moment ended with Trump announcing Schiff's permanent ban from office, shocking the public. "This is the video the media doesn't want you to see." It was a quiet Monday morning in Washington, D.C. Inside a private studio, cameras were rolling. Only a handful of trusted aides, one camera operator, and President Donald Trump stood in front of a simple American flag backdrop. The broadcast was unannounced. No media alerts, no press invites. Then, Trump leaned into the mic. "This is a message the media never wanted you to hear," he said, his voice steady, eyes sharp. Viewers tuning in by the tens of thousands within minutes sat frozen as Trump held up a thick manila folder marked "Classified." Inside were pages of documents, bank transfers, hidden communications, and memos signed with one chilling name: Adam Schiff. "Tonight," Trump continued, "you're going to see proof, real, heartbreaking proof, that a man trusted with our nation's future betrayed every single one of you." A wave of silence followed. Then, with unexpected emotion, Trump whispered, "This nearly broke me, but America deserves the truth." Tears welled in some viewers' eyes. They didn't know what was coming, but they felt it. By the time the feed cut, people everywhere were calling one another saying, "Did you see what the president just said?" The next morning, sunlight poured over the White House, but a storm brewed inside. Trump's phone rang nonstop. Senators, governors, even foreign leaders. But one call stood out. It came from a retired CIA agent named Thomas Hale, now battling terminal cancer. He spoke in a low-pained voice. "Mr. President, you finally said it. I've waited 15 years for someone to expose that man." Trump paused. "You're talking about Schiff?" Thomas coughed. "Yes, sir. I was assigned to monitor unauthorized data movements from congressional offices. In 2013, I traced encrypted messages and money transfers routed through 4 countries, ending in Schiff's name. When I reported it, I was silenced. My pension gone, my family destroyed." The line went quiet for a moment. "Sir," Thomas added, "I have documents you need. They're in my garage, hidden behind my late wife's paintings." President Trump nodded, jaw clenched. "We'll send someone you trust." That same afternoon, a trusted agent visited Thomas's home. What he found were dusty crates labeled "For America." As night fell, Trump opened one of the files in the Oval Office, and there it was, proof of Schiff communicating with a foreign intelligence officer during a classified military vote. Wednesday brought a chilly wind to Arlington National Cemetery as Trump quietly arrived for a scheduled wreath-laying. But someone else was there, a fragile older woman in a wheelchair gripping a small flag. Her name was Marjorie Hill, a 92-year-old widow of a Marine killed in Korea. As Trump passed by, she gently raised her hand. A Secret Service agent noticed and nodded to Trump. He walked over. "Mr. President," she said, tears brimming, "my husband died for this country, and I thought men like Schiff had destroyed everything he gave his life for." Trump knelt, eyes soft. "Not anymore, Marjorie. I promise you justice is coming." She handed him a worn photograph of her husband standing proudly in uniform. Behind it was a yellowed envelope. Trump opened the envelope later that night. Inside were notes describing secret midnight meetings in hidden Capitol rooms, and more than once Adam Schiff's name appeared alongside lobbyists, foreign guests, and cash transactions. Trump sat still for a long time, then whispered, "God help us. This goes deeper than I thought." Later that Wednesday night, back at the White House, President Trump sat in the quiet of the Lincoln bedroom. The envelope for Marjorie still rested in his hand, its weight heavy with history. As he studied the handwriting, something slipped out. A second folded note taped underneath the flap. It read, "There's more. Hidden beneath the floorboards. Look under the 3rd plank near the furnace." Without delay, Trump called the trusted agent again, instructing him to return to Marjorie's nephew's old home. The house had been abandoned for years, dust-covered and creaking. Flashlight in hand, the agent removed the third plank. There it was, a tin box filled with audio tapes labeled with dates, initials, and eerie titles like Midnight Wire and Foreign Offer. Trump didn't sleep that night. As he listened to the crackling voices on one tape, he froze. Adam Schiff's voice came through unmistakable. "We'll say it was a leak. We'll bury it under national security. No one will question." Another voice replied, "But what if the president finds out?" Schiff laughed. "He won't. He's too busy trying to fix a country we've already sold." Tears burned Trump's eyes. They weren't just stealing money, they were stealing America. By Thursday morning, the mood inside the White House was tense. Only a few staff members knew what was happening behind closed doors. One of them, Emily Larson, a 28-year-old staff assistant, broke down crying after reading a leaked transcript from the tapes. Trump saw her in the hallway wiping her eyes. He stopped. "You all right, Emily?" She looked up, shaking. "Mr. President, my dad worked for the Pentagon. He warned me about Schiff 5 years ago. He said something bad was happening. He died of a heart attack before anyone listened." Trump placed a hand on her shoulder. "Emily, your father was right, and we're going to finish what he started." She nodded, then pulled out her phone. "I kept screenshots of conversations from a former friend who interned under Schiff. They talked about blackmail, sir, about silencing anyone who spoke out." Trump took her phone and forwarded the screenshots to his legal team. By noon, the president was back in the studio, his voice deeper, his words sharper. "This is bigger than politics. This is betrayal. It's time America sees what's been hidden." Then he held up the tapes and the internet exploded. That Thursday night, without a word from the president, thousands gathered outside the Capitol in silence. No chants, no flags, just candlelight. It had started with one tweet. "If you care about America's future, meet us. Quiet, peaceful, united." Within hours, the crowd stretched for blocks. Elderly veterans held trembling candles. Young parents clutched their children close. Some held signs that read, "We believed you, Mr. President. We want justice. Schiff betrayed us all." From the White House balcony, Trump watched. He wasn't smiling. He wasn't triumphant. He looked heartbroken because deep down, he knew this wasn't just about corruption. This was about people, millions of Americans who had been ignored, lied to, and used. He whispered to an aide, "Prepare the next broadcast. We're going public, with everything." That night, as the candles flickered and people wept silently, the nation felt something it hadn't in years. Hope. And they knew something historic was about to happen. Early Friday morning, as Trump reviewed new files in the West Wing, his assistant entered with a note scribbled on a church bulletin. It had been hand-delivered by an elderly man in tears. It read, "Mr. President, I've seen Adam Schiff take money meant for our veterans. I'm ashamed I didn't speak sooner. Pastor Daniel Cross." Pastor Daniel, 76, had served his California community for decades. He remembered when a generous federal grant signed by Trump himself was meant to build a rehab center for homeless veterans in LA. But the project was suddenly shut down. Where did the money go? The pastor had proof, handwritten receipts, emails, even pictures of Schiff's aide meeting with shady contractors who disappeared days later. Trump stared at the photos, fists clenched. By noon, Pastor Daniel was flown to D.C. In a private meeting, he broke down in tears. "I buried 2 veterans who froze to death because that building was never built. I prayed for forgiveness every day." Trump placed his hand on the pastor's shoulder. "You're not the one who should feel guilty. Schiff stole their dignity. And now America will know." The investigation had just turned personal and spiritual. By Friday evening, whispers echoed through the Capitol. A prominent Democratic senator known to support Schiff for years had requested a meeting with President Trump in secret. Her name, Senator Lydia Hale. She entered the West Wing under heavy disguise and removed her scarf in the Roosevelt Room. "I don't know how to live with what I know anymore," she said, shaking. "Adam Schiff. He's been blackmailing people. He has files on dozens of us. but I've kept copies of everything because I knew one day this moment would come. Trump remained silent as she opened her briefcase. Inside were encrypted USB drives, notebooks, and photographs. These are signed contracts, offshore payments, evidence of Schiff moving millions through shell charities. He even faked reports to make you look like a threat to national security. Trump's face darkened. "Why now?" he asked. She looked away, holding back tears. "Because my brother served in Afghanistan, and one of the programs Schiff shut down was the one that helped him walk again after he lost his legs." Trump stood, eyes locked on hers. "Then help me bring this to light." She nodded. And just like that, a once loyal ally of Schiff had become a voice for justice. That night, as Trump's new broadcast was being prepared, a delivery arrived at the White House. No return address, just a small package wrapped in a child's drawing of the American flag. Inside was a crumpled letter from a 9-year-old boy named Matthew Collins from Ohio. His father, a firefighter, had died after being denied federal survivor benefits tied to a program Schiff allegedly blocked. The note read, "Dear Mr. President, my dad said you were fighting for good people. I miss him every night. Please don't stop. I still sleep with his flag. Love, Matthew." Trump quietly closed the letter, stood from his chair, and walked to the studio. Cameras turned on. He placed Matthew's flag drawing behind him, barely visible, but present. Then he looked into the lens. America. This isn't just about politics anymore. This is about people like Matthew. This is about truth. This is about honoring those who gave everything, only to be betrayed by someone they trusted. A pause. Then he said, "We will not let Adam Schiff hide anymore." The truth wasn't just coming. It was already here. Saturday morning, as the nation buzzed over Trump's second broadcast, an unexpected visitor arrived at the White House gate. Her name was Mrs. Kayla Bryant, a retired history teacher from Bakersfield, California. She clutched a brown folder, trembling. "I need the president. To see this, please. I taught Schiff in high school." Security hesitated until Trump's aide saw her last name, Bryant. The name matched one of the documents in Schiff's old school records. She was escorted in. Sitting across from Trump, Mrs. Bryant opened the folder. "Sir," she said quietly. "Years ago I found something odd in Adam's writing assignments. He wrote essays fantasizing about controlling leaders from behind the curtain. I reported it. Nothing happened." Trump raised an eyebrow. "And this?" She handed him a small cassette tape. "Our journalism club recorded a student debate. Schiff boasted about someday dismantling national pride from the inside." Later, Trump watched the grainy video. There he was, young Adam, arrogant, saying, "True power isn't in serving people. It's in keeping them blind." Trump's heart sank. This wasn't just corruption. It was planned. A plan years in the making, now coming undone. Later that day, a black SUV pulled into the White House loading dock. Inside was Director James Rowan, a retired intelligence analyst from Langley. He had worked with the CIA for 32 years, but now he was here to confess. "I should have spoken sooner," he told Trump, "but I was afraid." He opened a briefcase filled with internal CIA memos, many marked top secret. Trump's eyes locked onto a name stamped over and over again. Adam Schiff. Rowan spoke, voice trembling. "Sir, Schiff made contact with a foreign operative 6 years ago, codename Falcon, linked to a known espionage group. They passed intel on troop movements, private calls, and your transition team." Trump leaned back, stunned. "My transition? That was before I even took office." Rowan nodded. "Yes, sir. He tried to sabotage you before day one." The room fell silent. Trump picked up a photo. It showed Schiff shaking hands with the operative at a luxury hotel in Prague. "You have any doubt this was him?" Trump asked. "None, Mr. President. It's him. He sold you out before the country even knew your name would change history." Trump's eyes narrowed. Then the world's about to know his name for a different reason. As the sun set over the White House, A woman stood at the gates, shivering, clutching a wooden box. Secret Service approached cautiously. "I don't want to go in," she said, voice cracked with grief. "Just give this to President Trump, please." Inside, the box were dog tags, a small journal, and a note. "My son died because of Adam Schiff." Her name was Monica Reyes. Her son, CPO Antonio Reyes, was killed in a delayed drone strike because a vote on military funding was blocked at the last minute by Schiff's committee. Monica's journal told the story. Antonio's letters home, his dreams, his love for baseball, and his final one. "Tell the president, I believe in him. I know he's trying." When Trump read it, he couldn't speak. His voice caught. He asked for Monica to be brought inside. She came in quietly, knees shaking. Trump embraced her. "I'm sorry," he whispered. She whispered back, "Just promise no more sons lost for nothing." "I promise," Trump said, "and Schiff won't get away with this." It was Sunday morning. The country felt like it was holding its breath. People skipped church, skipped breakfast, eyes glued to phones, radios, and any news source not tied to Schiff's media allies. Meanwhile, in a quiet hospital just outside Philadelphia, a nurse named Angela Burns sealed an envelope. Her hands were shaking. She had once cared for an elderly man named Paul Mackenzie, a former congressional accountant who had suffered a stroke shortly after threatening to expose Schiff's offshore activity. He had no family, just whispers and regrets. On his last day, he handed Angela a folder and whispered, "He's hiding billions and blood monies all over it." Angela had kept it locked away until now. By nightfall, she was on a flight to D.C., the folder pressed to her chest. Inside were spreadsheets of hidden payments, including names of foreign shell corporations and shocking entries labeled disguise, disbursements, Ukraine, Iran, NGO funds. She met with Trump's legal counsel in a hotel room. "This proves Schiff was stealing from the American people and giving it to enemies," the attorney said. Angela whispered. "He took Paul's voice. I won't let him take mine." Another crack had formed in Schiff's crumbling wall of lies. That Sunday night, President Trump called for a full investigation into a location mentioned in the newly revealed documents, an abandoned federal building near the Capitol, supposedly unused for years. But Trump had a gut feeling, and he was right. Agents arrived and discovered a sealed room beneath the structure. No light, no ventilation, just a metal door and a keypad. Once opened, what they found made grown men weep. Hard drives, burn bags, photos, audio tapes. One drive contained footage of Schiff in an off-the-record meeting, laughing about redirecting defense funds to fake organizations. He was surrounded by lawyers and donors, faces the American people had trusted. But what stunned them most was a dry erase board captured in the background. It had a list titled Project Control, Block Energy Pipelines, Redirect Campaign Donations, Media Placement, Program Trump Disqualification Strategy. Trump reviewed the footage in silence. Then he whispered, "They tried to break the country from the inside, and they nearly did, but not anymore." Trump ordered the room sealed for now. What was inside would soon be revealed to the world, and when it was, no one would see Schiff the same again. Monday morning arrived with a weight few Americans had ever felt, and as Trump prepared for a third live broadcast, a knock came at the Oval Office door. A young boy named Eli Turner, age 12, was rolled in by his mother. Eli was born with cerebral palsy. His father, an Air Force technician, had died while stationed overseas. A medical grant promised by a military family aid fund was pulled before Eli's surgery. Schiff's committee had reallocated the funds. Trump knelt beside the boy. Eli stared up and whispered, "My daddy said, you were strong. Please, help us." Trump's eyes filled with tears. He took Eli's hand. "You're stronger than I'll ever be," he said. "And yes, I promise I'll help." Before leaving, Eli gave Trump a drawing, 2 stick figures. One had orange hair, the other, a cape. "That's you saving my family," Eli said softly. That evening, Trump went live again. Behind him hung Eli's drawing. No flashy speech, just a quiet voice. "Adam Schiff hurt families, but you're not forgotten. Not anymore. That night, millions wept, not for politics, but for justice long denied. As the sun rose on Tuesday, a new package was delivered to the White House. This time, anonymously. Inside was an old iPhone wrapped in a silk handkerchief. Taped too. The back was a note. He knew too much. I've kept this hidden for 3 years. Please, for my husband's honor, play the video. The phone belonged to Samuel Hayes, a whistleblower who once worked in the Senate's Finance Department. He had died in what was ruled a freak car accident after he requested a private hearing about Schiff's role in foreign aid manipulation. Trump sat alone in the Situation Room, opened the phone, and hit play. The video was shaky, filmed in secret from a dark office. Samuel whispered, "If you're watching this, it means I'm gone. Schiff has rerouted millions through education programs that don't exist." He laughed when we questioned it, said, "You think anyone will stop me?" Tears welled in Trump's eyes. Then Samuel added, "If anything happens to me, tell my wife I loved her, tell the country I tried." Trump whispered, "You did, Sam, and now we will finish it for you." The world would soon hear Samuel's voice and never forget it. Hours later, Trump did something unexpected. He quietly attended Samuel Hayes' funeral in Virginia. No press, no cameras, just a grieving widow, 2 children, and a pastor reading Psalm 34:18. "The Lord is close to the brokenhearted." Trump knelt by the casket and placed an American flag over it. As he stood, Mrs. Hayes stepped forward, voice trembling. "You're the first person who ever believed him. Thank you." He held her hand and said, "He died a hero, and the man who caused this will never hurt anyone again." By the next morning, word had spread. President Trump had attended the funeral of, a forgotten whistleblower. Millions of Americans were stunned by the gesture. It wasn't about power, it was about honor. Veterans groups, Gold Star families, and faith leaders began posting online. "We believe him now. We stand with Trump. Schiff, must be brought to justice. Enough is enough." The nation wasn't just watching anymore, they were rising. What had started as whispers had become a wave, and Adam Schiff could feel it coming. By Tuesday evening, Trump returned to the studio for what he called the most important message yet. The American flag stood behind him. No crowd, no advisors, just the weight of truth behind his every step. He looked straight into the camera. Adam Schiff once mocked the American people in a private room. He called you gullible. He said you'd never find out. But tonight, I'm showing you everything. Behind him, the screen showed document after document, emails, money trails, voice recordings, insider testimonies. Then the call played again. Bury the tapes or bury someone. But what came next silenced the world. Trump unveiled a final video, never shown before. Schiff mocking Gold Star families during a private fundraiser, saying, "They'll cry on cue if you give them a mic." Gasps, cries, outrage. Trump turned to the camera, eyes red. "Enough is enough. I am submitting formal charges to permanently ban Adam Schiff from holding any public office forever, and we are pursuing full criminal prosecution." A long pause. This is not revenge. This is justice. And across America, people wept because they knew he meant every word. Minutes after President Trump's final broadcast ended, a historic emergency session of Congress was called. The evidence had spread like wildfire. Every senator, every representative, Democrat and Republican alike, had seen the documents, heard the tapes, and read the testimonies. The chamber, usually filled with arguments and division, now sat in complete silence. The Speaker of the House rose. "Due to the overwhelming evidence presented by the President of the United States, we bring to the floor a motion to begin formal proceedings for the permanent disqualification of Congressman Adam Schiff from public office." One by one, members voted, yes, yes, yes. Even some of Schiff's closest former allies couldn't look him in the eye. Outside the Capitol, thousands stood in the rain, holding candles. Inside the Oval Office, Trump stood watching the live count with Gold Star families by his side. When Library said the final vote came in, 314 to 121 in favor, the room erupted in tears. Trump looked into the camera streaming to the country. This is for every voice that was ignored and every soul that was silenced. Adam Schiff's fate was sealed. And for millions of Americans, justice finally felt real. Just after sunrise on Saturday, federal agents arrived at Adam Schiff's D.C. residence. He didn't smile. He didn't speak. Cameras from every network zoomed in as he was escorted down the steps in silence, his suit wrinkled, his expression hollow. The same man who once spoke over others now had nothing to say. Across the country, veterans cried, families cheered, and others simply fell to their knees in gratitude. In Ohio, young Eli watched from his hospital bed, holding the same hand-drawn flag Trump had framed in the Oval Office. In Kentucky, Walter stood proudly beside his granddaughter as the American flag waved behind them. And in California, the widow of Samuel Hayes placed a new flower on his grave and whispered, "He did it, Sam. He kept his word." Later that day, Trump walked into a press briefing, looked out at the American people and said just one thing: "We don't forget the brave. We honor them always." And the crowd of reporters stood and applauded. Something bigger than politics had happened. The soul of a nation had been restored. Sunday evening arrived quietly. No sirens, no protests, just families sitting together, some crying, some holding hands, all remembering the week that changed everything. President Trump sat down in the White House studio one last time. He didn't stand behind a podium. He didn't wear a suit. He wore a simple white shirt and held a folded American flag. He looked into the camera, voice calm and full of heart. This week, we walked through pain. We heard stories of betrayal and stories of strength. But through it all, America stood tall. He paused. Adam Schiff's days of lying and stealing from our people are over. This isn't about me. This is about every mother, every child, every hero who deserved better and will now get it. Then he added softly, "I promise from this day forward, we will never let anyone like him betray you again, ever." The screen faded to black, but before it went dark, white text appeared. For the fallen, for the forgotten, for America. If this story touched your heart, click the like button. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Let the world know you stand for truth. And don't forget to subscribe, because here we never stay silent. Thank you. God bless our heroes, and God bless the United States of America.